Boy McFarlane's rewards for getting Cambridge promoted was no money to spend. But with the squad he's already got, that's not the end of the world. Big spending Reading were very much second best at the Abbey from the moment Michael Kidd popped home the one you literally cannot miss. Reading fans with a perfect view of their side's defensive shortcomings. And that wasn't the only time they were on show. Trevor Benjamin's acrobatic flick doubled the lead. His celebratory dance, though, was hardly the waltz through the defence. And Reading's non-existent aerial prowess was again to the fore, when number 4, Andy Duncan, scored the third. That made victory for Cambridge academic. Reading's consolation was out of the bizarre category. Keith Scott hitting both posts with the flick before Jim McIntyre made Scott's premature celebrations worthwhile. But despite all the transfers, boss Tommy Burns still hasn't got it right. Cambridge 3, Reading 1.
Big spending Reading could only find a place on the bench for £650,000 signing Nicky Forster for the visit of cash-strapped Luton. But money can't guarantee league points. Andrew Fodiadis, a product of the Hatters Youth Academy, proved the point on the restart. The pressure descending fast on Royals boss Tommy Burns, and eased only slightly by the Martin Williams equaliser 2 minutes later, against the club where his career began. Reading's match now, surely? Well, by George it wasn't. Liam George, a European Youth Championship winner with Ireland alongside Robbie Keane, squeezed home a late winner here. Make a note of his name as well. Reading 1, Luton 2.
Colchester gave new boss Steve Whitten a winning start at Layer Road, but they had to come from behind twice to beat Reading. Nicky Forster headed his first goal since joining the Royals from Birmingham in the summer. The equaliser came from much-travelled Warren Aspinall, who scored the first of his 2 goals in first-half stoppage time. Aspinall's shot, too hot to hold. Reading took the lead again through Martin Williams, who once had a loan spell at Layer Road. He used his neck to good effect to beat Simon Brown. The rest was easy. Two goals in the last 12 minutes led to a storming finish. Great work by Lamano Lualua, underlining his potential. The run deserved a goal. At least Keith de Goid was on hand to score. Now the last 2 league meetings between these two sides have ended level. This looked like it was heading the same way until Keith Scott handled unnecessarily in the box 2 minutes from time. Aspinall stepping up for his second of the game. Colchester 3, Reading 2.
Bournemouth maintained their 100% home record, and Reading manager Tommy Burns remains under intense pressure after the Royals' latest defeat. It started well enough for Reading at Dean Court, as they were awarded an early penalty for the challenge on Nicky Forster. Darren Caskey dispatched the spot kick past goalkeeper Mark Ovendale. But Reading then hit the self-destruct button, scoring 2 own goals, the first from the outstretched leg of Peter Grant. Mel Machin's side took the lead when Steve Robinson laid the ball back for Richard Hughes to beat goalkeeper Scott Howie from 20 yards. Reading chairman John Medeski has made it clear that he's not satisfied with his club's position, and the manner in which Reading conceded possession and then Chris Casper headed through his own goal certainly hasn't strengthened his manager's hand. Caskey was unfortunate with a free kick, and to complete a miserable trip to the coast, Reading also had defender Barry Hunter sent off.
Early on against the second division side, but Dean Winters' persistence earned them a penalty just before half-time, with the referee convinced he'd been tripped. In the absence of the regular penalty taker Peter Beagrie, the responsibility fell to Robbie Blake. It's sometimes said that one dubious decision is cancelled out by another. Certainly City felt aggrieved that Ashley Westwood was adjudged to have fouled Jimmy McIntyre. The ref must have had a much better view than our cameraman. And with a John Aldrich-type shuffle, Darren Caskey equalised. It ended 1-1, and Paul Jewell may pick a more familiar line.
11. Life's hard for Oldham. You lose 6 of your 7 league games and all 5 away from home this season. Then finally a chink of light, as Mark Allott puts you ahead late in the game. Surely this is your day. But after your bad time seemed to stop thanks to Allott, it all goes wrong in the time allotted for stoppages. Your defence gets Reading between the lines, and John Polston scores his first goal for 3 years. How do you feel? Reading 1, Oldham 1.
At the top end of the...
It took Wycombe just 8 minutes to take the lead against Reading. Phil Parkinson watched Keith Ryan's header every inch of its journey into the net. Pity he didn't try to stop it. And so it stayed until just before half-time, when Dave Carroll's free kick deceived Scott Howie for 2-0. Carroll's second goal this term and first in the league, and soon after the restart, Carroll, Wycombe's longest-serving player, turned provider. The Reading defence was caught playing offside, and not very well at that. Sean Devine had Paul Emblin to thank for the final pass. Wycombe keeper Stephen Bywater, on loan from West Ham, was beaten just before the hour mark, when poor marking led to Nicky Forster heading in. But any hope Reading had of a storming fight back was effectively ended by Jimmy Crawford's second yellow card. That late, high challenge on Dave Carroll saw Reading reduced to 10 men, and Crawford didn't hang around to see the first red card of his career. Reading took advantage of their extra man to grab a fourth goal. That combination of Paul Emblin and Sean Devine again did the damage. Devine had far too much pace for Barry Hunter, and he finished with precision. On 71 minutes, Reading were allowed to knock the ball around the Wycombe penalty area without having to dodge too many challengers. And Nicky Forster was able to knock in his third goal this campaign. But Wycombe still led 4-2. And they made it 5 when Sean Devine completed his hat-trick. This time sub Andy Baird's header beat that fragile Reading offside trap. 4 minutes from the end, Reading were awarded a penalty. Jason Cousins fouled Forster, and Royals top scorer Darren Caskey cracked in his 5th goal of the season, 3 of them penalties. Wycombe's first ever win over Reading, Wycombe 5, Reading 3. Reading took the lead at the Britannia Stadium with the sort of goal that drives managers balmy. I'm sure Gary Megson wasn't impressed at his side's inability to clear. Eventually, James O'Connor set up Nicky Forster for his 4th goal for the Royals. But there was to be no repeat of their 4-0 win on this ground last season. Stoke are in great form just now, and defender Nicky Mohan's fine finish for his 2nd goal in 3 games brought them level. City had to play the last 13 minutes with 10 men after Kyle Lightbourne caught Peter Grant with a late tackle to earn his 2nd yellow card of the game. Seemed like he couldn't wait to get in the shower. A last-minute winner gave Stoke all 3 points against Scunthorpe last week, and Norwegian defender Anders Jacobson's first goal in English football saw them squeeze past Reading. Stoke 2, Reading 1.
Different manager, same result. Alan Pardew's first game since he was confirmed as Reading boss saw his new side fall to their 3rd straight defeat. Stuart Barlow's 11th of the season, extending Wigan's unbeaten run in the league to 10. And Barlow contributed towards the 2nd goal as well. A surging run stopped in its tracks by Phil Whitehead, much to Whitehead's apparent amazement. Although it is hard to see exactly what the Reading new boy was complaining about. Carl Bradshaw did the inevitable, and while Wigan march on to the music of success, Reading are still waiting for the band to turn up. Reading 0, Wigan 2.
Reading's new management team of Alan Pardew and John Gorman is starting to make a difference. Andy Gurney set them on course for their first away point this season at Oldham. Craig Dudley's first goal for the Latics since joining from Notts County brought the home side level. But Reading made it 6 points out of 6 after they were awarded a penalty just before half-time. Darren Caskey turned Peter Grant's cross onto Paul Rickers, then warmly applauded referee Phil Joslin's generous decision. Hardly a handball, and surely not deliberate. Homekeeper Gary Kelly tried to balance the scales of justice, but referee Joslin penalised Richard Graham's encroachment. And from the retake, Caskey converted his 4th successful penalty of the season. Oldham Athletic 1, Reading 2.
Things are starting to go well at the Majeski Stadium. It's now 3 successive wins for Alan Pardew and John Gorman. The Royals came through a potentially tricky tie against Yeovil, who've claimed some notable cup scalps in their time. This strike from Martin Williams was Reading's 4th of the afternoon. He then proceeded to confuse teammate Graham Murty with his celebration dance. Reading 4, Yeovil 2.
The Majeski Stadium, the stage for Mickey Lewis to strengthen his claim to get the Oxford job. But Reading's rookie boss Alan Pardew equally determined to prove himself in the Thames Valley derby. Trevor Harris.
Very competitive early on, as you'd expect, and it might break here to Williams, and he couldn't get it on target. First real shot in anger in the Thames Valley derby. Martin Williams maybe should have done better with that, but just a sense of early panic in that Oxford defence. This is Joey Beecham. Folland's made the run outside him. 2 defenders come across. Still Folland, tight angle, but he still made it. And Oxford had the lead just 7 minutes gone, and it's Rob Folland. It was Joey Beecham who put him in, but it was mostly Folland's own work. He had 2 defenders who came across, and neither got in a telling tackle at all. And he beat the goalkeeper on his far post. First blow struck by the visitors. Oxford lead. It was a really composed finish. He looked up, he knew where he wanted to put it, and he did just that. This is Evers for Reading. Haven't been able to create too much thus far. Another cross intercepted, and they've saved the corner as well, Oxford. Just got to probe for that opening and have the belief that it'll come. Still plenty of time left. It's in towards Forster, and that's Scott, and that's a terrific save from Paul Lundin. He was second favourite there. No wonder Scott held his head. He'd labelled that an equaliser. Supreme acrobatics from Keith Scott, and they were matched by the goalkeeper. On towards Forster again, and the goalkeeper out just in time. He's having a good game. Nicky Forster just couldn't get there, and that was because of the keeper's smart reactions. Brave as well. On towards Forster now. McIntyre, and it is it. It's 1-1. 13 minutes from the end, and have Reading saved themselves here. A really scrappy goal. Not the best defending I'll ever see. It was in towards Forster, it came off an Oxford defender, and the substitute McIntyre was in the right place to take advantage. Lundin that time couldn't do anything about it. Rather a comedy of errors, but it's 1-1. Is there to be a twist in the tail? It's been an entertaining game, and this is Lilly charging down the right, no one near him. He's got Abbey in the middle, and that was an excellent saving tackle by Gurney. Otherwise Abbey would surely have made it 2-1. Good defending. Look how much time he had to measure the cross, and Gurney got his foot in first. Nice little 1-2. Joey Beecham's been all over the place this afternoon. That's not a bad cutback either. Murphy! What a strike! Matt Murphy, 6 minutes from time, may well have won it for Oxford. Made by Beecham, and it was finished emphatically by the Oxford number 7. Absolute cracker. No chance at all for Whitehead. He may not even have seen it. It was past him in a flash. Perfect precision pass from Beecham and a perfect angle of Murphy's finish. Stunning strike.
New Shrew an FA Cup tie, but Reading made life even more difficult for themselves when skipper Phil Parkinson was dismissed 5 before the break. The mindless trip on Jamie Patterson, having already been warned and booked, left referee Richard Beebe without an option. The half-time cuppa could have been even more unpalatable had Mark Bradshaw not wasted a simple opportunity. But on the hour, Reading were facing elimination. Graham Mitchell's header floating beyond former Halifax keeper Phil Whitehead. A man down, a goal down. They needed a helping hand and got it from Peter Butler. It was a heartbreaking moment for the former West Ham midfielder, and Darren Caskey saved Reading's blushes from 12 yards. They'd got out of jail and they knew it, but things are not looking good for Reading. Reading 1, Halifax 1.
Scunthorpe hadn't played Reading since back in 1979. Their fans can't have seen many classy back heels in the intervening 20 years either. Yeopua's wonderful touch setting up Lee Hodges, who wins the bizarre Celebration of the Week award. Scunny didn't hold on though. Barry Hunter with a late equaliser, but it's 6 without a win for Reading and their worst season for years. It could be a long struggle through to May. Reading 1, Scunthorpe 1.
And Plymouth will now meet Reading in round 3 after the Royals' narrow win over Halifax. The only goal came after Reading's Martin Williams was fouled by Paul Stoneman, and Darren Caskey scored from the resulting penalty. There was, however, a dramatic ending, as Halifax had the chance to pull level in the very last minute. John Polston's foul on Mark Jules saw Polston dismissed, but Jamie Patterson's spot kick was saved by Scott Howie. Halifax 0, Reading 1.
Bristol City boss Tony Pulis had told the crowd to blame him, not the players, after 11 without a win in the league, and most of them did. But Steve Torpey, still on the transfer list, made a good case for his retention at Ashton Gate. Reading had won on their last 3 trips to City, but they've forgotten the art of defending these days. And after some pinball wizardry that Pete Townsend would have been proud of, Sean Taylor doubled the Royals' deficit. He was quite pleased as well. But Reading do have one player of genuine class. Darren Caskey might feel the burden of responsibility grow even stronger between now and May. His 10th of the season, showing he's not just supreme from the penalty spot. City got the reward for a change to a 4-4-2 formation. A big win for them, sealed by Peter Beadle. Bristol City 3, Reading 1.
Plymouth didn't expect much today. Their fans are planning to throw hundreds of underpants onto the pitch at next week's home game against Wrexham in protest at their season, but they were anything but pants today, despite almost going behind to Reading's Jim McIntyre. They did go behind to the same player later. Reading must have felt they'd done all the hard work as they built the move slowly, and when the cross finally came in from the right, several players missed it before McIntyre finished it off. But Plymouth weren't done. They almost equalised when Wayne O'Sullivan went close. And they finally did after 82 minutes. And how? Chris Hargreaves letting loose a thunderbolt which earns them a replay. You can forget the pants. How about this for a bit of shirt twirling celebration?
It was pants day at the Madejski Stadium. Reading fans, so annoyed at their side's inept displays this season, waved underwear round their heads to comment on what they've described as pants performances. And after Scotsman Peter Grant had put Reading ahead, a jock-strapping finish, there was more cause for underwear antics as Gareth Owen put Wrexham back on terms. A great goal, but defenders, why front up to the ball if you're not going to make a challenge? And Reading fans were unimpressed by the barefaced cheek of Neil Roberts' header. Wrexham taking the lead very much below the belt. But understandably, given the circumstances, the lead was brief. Keith Scott getting the first goal, albeit after a bum steer of Brian Carey. Draws, always the favoured result on pants day. Reading 2, Wrexham 2.
Reading had the better of a dour draw at the majestic Madejski Stadium, but they haven't won a league match for over 2 months now, and the Magpies haven't scored in 3 games since putting 5 past Bournemouth, so not much festive cheer from this match. Reading 0, Notts County 0.
Division 2's game of the day honour goes to Gillingham and Reading, who served up a scintillating 3-goal finish. For most of the match, Nicky Southall's first half strike was the difference between the sides. But Reading never looked dead and buried, and a moment of class from on-loan Chelsea man Mark Nichols finally made their effort worthwhile in the 88th minute. The celebrations went on too long, Gillingham seizing on the lapse in concentration immediately. Barry Ashby's break, Andy Thompson turning in what most expected to be the winner. They reckoned without the referee. 2 minutes into time added on, when Mr Bramwood decided the outstretched arm was deliberate. Martin Williams isn't Reading's usual penalty taker, but he wrong-footed the keeper with the last kick for an unexpected point.
Nigel Worthington brought Rob Matthews to Blackpool before departing, and Matthews went on to score the first goal of Steve McMahon's reign. But the Tangerine dream started to turn into a nightmare after Barry Shuttleworth got himself sent off. He would probably have got away with his heavy challenge on Andy Gurney, but he couldn't expect to stay on the pitch after that sly kick on the same man. Referee Keith Hill duly sent him off. And worse was to follow, as Reading grabbed a point thanks to Darren Caskey's 11th goal of the season. No wonder he's been linked to a move back to a higher division. Reading, though, remain without a league win since late October. Reading 1, Blackpool 1.
Without a league win since October, it's getting desperate for Reading. Nicky Forster came closest to scoring against bottom club Cambridge, but after no improvement since Pants Day, the Royals fans' protests are now lacking humour and growing in passion. Reading 0, Cambridge 0.
Luton increased Reading's relegation fears with a hatful at Kenilworth Road. Adam Lock's free kick was helped on by Gary Doherty for Julian Watts to net his first for Luton. Reading equalised on the hour mark. Darren Caskey manoeuvred round the flapping Nathan Abbey to spark a right royal celebration. Luton hadn't beaten Reading at home since March 1970, and they thought they were back in front when Phil Gray converted the cross from Stuart Douglas. The referee, though, felt Gray had used his arm to bring it down, and the effort was disallowed. Gray's protest earned him a yellow card. Luton, though, weren't to be denied after a miserable run with just 1 win in 10. Top scorer Liam George nipped in for goal number 2 before sealing things right at the death. Phil Gray's pass, George in the clear, and Luton finally in the points. Luton 3, Reading 1.
Nicky Forster hasn't set the world on fire since his 650k move from St Andrews, but he was certainly burning up the grass to set Darren Caskey in for his 14th of the season for Reading. It came midway through the first half. But Colchester, after 4 straight league wins, are fairly bombing along themselves. Carl Duguid nearly exploded with anger once his close-range nutjob had been ruled out for offside. it was more than a shade harsh. At half-time, Colchester threw on super sub Lamana Tresor Loire, but for once he failed to turn the match. Nicky Forster nearly sealed it, just past the hour. But the day belonged to Darren Caskey. He never quite made it at Tottenham, but if he keeps scoring at this rate, he'll surely be back in the Premiership one day. John Gorman may have gone south to join Glenn Hoddle at the Dell, but more results like this and Reading's Division 2 status won't be going west. Reading 2, Colchester 0.
Preston are the new Division 2 leaders with a point against Reading. It was a repeat of the scoreline in the reverse fixture back in September. Nicky Forster put the Royals in front with the only goal of the first half. But after the break, a crowd of more than 12,500 witnessed 3 in 7 minutes. John Macken notched his 21st of the season to make him joint top scorer in the division. 3 minutes later, Preston took the lead through Michael Jackson, who showed some nifty footwork. But the celebrations were short-lived. Reading had splashed the cash on Cambridge striker Martin Butler, and it looks like $750,000 well spent. A goal from Forster's cross on his debut to make it 20 for the season. Preston 2, Reading 2. Millwall lost ground in the promotion race as Reading chalked up their 5th win in 7. Goalless at half-time though, after Peter Grant's volley from Darren Caskey's set-up flew back off the bar. The 2 second-half goals secured all 3 points for the Royals. Caskey again involved before Forster found Phil Parkinson, and that was the skipper's first of the season. Having supplied the first, Nicky Forster went solo for the second. He ran half the length of the pitch before beating Millwall keeper Tony Warner to leave the Lions with just 2 wins in 7. Reading 2, Millwall 0.
Last night's Auto Windscreen Shield victory was City's 5th win in 7 games under the new regime. The opener came after a long clearance by Billy Mercer, finished by Peter Beadle. Then Tony Thorpe made it 2-0 before half-time. Thorpe continued his revival since Tony Pulis's departure with a rare header. And after an excellent long pass by Brian Tinian, Scott Murray again showed some fine finishing to make it 4-0. It could have been more.
We're starting to press the ball higher up the field. We're closing teams down better, and when we get it, we're keeping it better. And I think that's the key factors. And we're getting people forward more. We're supporting the front men, and they're having a great time up there, and they're scoring the goals they deserve.
Reading arrived at Glanford Park for the first time ever, in good form, but still desperate for the points as they, like Scunthorpe, try and stay clear of the drop zone. But it was Scunny who took the lead through Steve Torpey, and their other recent striking signing, Brian Quayle, soon doubled it, with his first for the club and just the 4th goal of his career. The 4th goal of many, if this is anything to go by. Now, 2 months ago, Reading would have buckled, but not anymore. Nathan Stanton's handball giving the Royals a lifeline. And Darren Caskey, his 8th successful penalty of the season. And the fight back was completed by Jimmy McIntyre. Scunny still wondering how their barren streak was extended to 5 games. Reading still improving. Scunthorpe 2, Reading 2.
16 goals from midfield prior to kick-off was a magnificent effort from Darren Caskey. But he hadn't finished yet. Stand-in skipper in the absence of Phil Parkinson. He bent the Royals in front inside 3 minutes. It was worthy of David Beckham, and that's saying something. And it was another Caskey set-piece which eventually arrived on the head of Nicky Forster on the half-hour. Reading 2, Bournemouth 0.
Win at the Manor Ground, but the home side looked on course to complete the double when Paul Powell scored after a dazzling run in only the 8th minute. Their lead was short-lived. The Royals were on level terms 3 minutes later. Lee Hodges hit the post and the rebound went in off the Oxford keeper Andrea Renzi. Reading went in front on the half-hour. Arenzi failing to hold on to Andy Gurney's long-range effort, Hodges tapping in. Darren Caskey made sure of the 3 points to lift the Royals further from relegation trouble with his 18th goal of the season, pouncing on the defensive error. It's now just 1 league defeat in 8 for Alan Pardew's rapidly improving team.
This is the
The Bees' Icelandic striker Ivar Ingimarsson came close to a brilliant third goal in English football. But it was Reading-born Welsh international Adrian Williams, back with the Royals on loan from Wolves, who decided this game. There's talk of a permanent return, and this goal 10 minutes from the end might just help him escape from Wolves' reserves. Reading 1, Brentford 0.
Taken a couple earlier on. This time it's a good one from Little, and Davies is up there, and that's a goal. That's Steve Davies. Burnley 1, Reading 0. Tempted fate to say that Davies would score one.
Oh, superb strike. Inch perfect.
So Little to take this corner for the Clarets at the cricket field stand, end of the ground. It's a good one. Payton! 2-0! What can you say about Andy Payton? It's already been said.
Well, it's the old Burnley 1-2, then Little cross onto Andy Payton's head, and the next thing it's in the back of the net. Tremendous.
He's right at the byline here. Chip to the back post! Steve Davies, yes! Right. Notched another. He's there. He's scored for Burnley. Burnley 3, Reading 0. Right.
Well, the crowd have gone absolutely bananas here. There's Ian Wright lying on the deck, being congratulated by his teammates. Can't see what he's doing. He's a happy man.
Out of the playoff bracket for the first time for several weeks following Stoke's 1-0 win over Brentford. The Gills went a goal down just before half-time in their game at Reading on Friday night, Martin Butler leaving Vince Bartram rooted to the spot. However, Peter Taylor saw his side make a positive beginning to the second half, and Ty Gooden's cross was met perfectly by Nicky Southall, who headed home his 11th goal of the season. If the Anura, a half-time substitute, put Gillingham in front, Andy Hessenthaler's corner caused the Reading defence no end of problems, and it was Anura who got the vital touch at the far post, his 4th goal since his move back to the club from Swindon. Reading, though, ended Gillingham's chances of another away win when Darren Caskey volleyed home for his 21st goal of the season with a quarter of an hour remaining. Gillingham now 7th in the second division table with 2 games in hand. Reading 2, Gillingham 2.